Hey! So recently, in a PlayStation State of Play, we saw a new FNAF game formally unveiled, Secrets of the Mimic. And one thing really stood out to me while I was watching the trailer. This location, where the game takes place, man, is it generic. I feel like I've seen it in so many other horror games before. Not to say I'm not excited for the game, it's just something I noticed. But that got me to think back to previous FNAF games, and that's when I realized that the setting of these games has changed a lot over the years. Sure, a lot of them can be boiled down to restaurant, but they're all super unique, not even mentioning the ones that don't fit that description at all, like an underground facility or a mall. So today, I wanted to go through and talk about each location, what they do right, and whether I personally like it or not. And why the hell not, I'll place them all on a tier list so we can see which location in FNAF is the overall best one. We all good? Alright, let's start at the beginning with FNAF 1. So, as the first game, and thus the first location, it's a bit hard to judge. It's incredibly iconic, but so is literally everything from FNAF 1, it's like an inevitability, so it's hard to tell how much this location has earned. Not to say it's bad though, far from it. This location is something that not a lot of others have, which is incredible atmosphere. The lighting and the way things are laid out is all perfectly done to be as eerie as possible. This game takes place in a restaurant, obviously, and I think it nails that. This place is very believably a place that could have existed back then, which helps suspend your disbelief for all the supernatural shit going on. However, this also leads to the location's biggest weakness. It's not very special. When I look at this location, I see a generic 80s/90s restaurant, and not much more. It's creepy, yes, but FNAF is about more than just creepiness, it's about memorability. And while this location is memorable, that's only on account of being the first one. If this was the location for, say, FNAF 6, then I doubt it'd be as fondly remembered as it is. Overall though, I'm giving this one a B tier. It's perfectly middle of the road for me. There's nothing bad about it, but nothing all that spectacular either. Again, it's hard carried by being the first location in an insanely popular franchise. So that should give you an idea of how this will go. Is this location memorable, creepy, or special in some way? Now we move on to one that is none of those things. Yup, here's my hot take for the video. FNAF 2's location is mid as hell, one of the worst in the franchise. It's not bad, no location in FNAF is bad as we'll see, but man is this one boring. It's basically just a repeat of FNAF 1's, it's a generic restaurant. But that's not all, because this generic restaurant is also accompanied by a worse atmosphere. Seriously, how did Scott Cawthon get worse at horror between games? This place is not scary at all, it's just too bright. Everything in FNAF 1 was dark and creepy looking. This place? I'd want to go here, it seems fun. Now, it's not all bad, it has a lot of the strengths of FNAF 1 on account of just copying it. It's a very realistic place, and it's not the worst atmosphere-wise, but besides that, I just am not a fan of this place. D tier, it's just boring. Moving on. Now luckily, for most of the other games, there's not anything reused across them. From this point onwards, almost every location is something completely new, and FNAF 3 is a good one. It's a horror attraction, like a haunted house sort of deal. That's very creative and means they can put all sorts of creepy stuff around. There's old abandoned arcade machines, creepy drawings, it's very corny but intentionally so, and I like that about it. Unfortunately, that's kind of where my praise ends. This place is just so ugly. Like seriously, probably the ugliest in the series, and not in a good way. I just don't like looking at it. It's green and gross. Some might say that's good for a horror game, like isn't it supposed to be unappealing? But I don't know, I feel like there's a balance to be had between ugly and appealing, and this game just dips right over to the ugly side. I also think every room looks way too similar, like it's hard to differentiate them. This might be because I haven't played as much FNAF 3 as FNAF 1, but here's an example. Show me a camera render from the first game, I can tell you which room it is and where it's located on the map. FNAF 3 though? Forget it, I can't tell left from right in this place. I want to like this place, I really do. It has one of the most interesting concepts in the series, but its execution is just meh. Honestly, I think they should have gone even further in the corny horror direction. Make it seem completely stupid. Have like, I don't know, an obviously fake decapitated head. Just stupid shit that you'd see in an amateur haunted house. If there were more things like that and it was more distinct, I'd be a big fan. As it is now though, C tier. It has some massive missed potential. Now, FNAF 4, as we all know, is my least favorite FNAF game. However, there has always been one thing I really did enjoy about it. Its location. It takes place in a child's bedroom, which checks out since we're up against the nightmare animatronics. I love how dark this place is, like it really does give off the sort of nostalgic, can't sleep and seeing shadows in your room at 3 AM kind of vibe. Yeah, it works so well from a child's perspective. Honestly, I only really have one complaint with this location, and it's how little of it we see. There's no camera system in this game, so the most we see is the bedroom and the 2 hallways, which barely count. Obviously, I'm not trying to say this game needed a camera system, but I wish there were ways to see more of this place. Houses are so common in horror games because they're so effective, and I think there was potential in, say, a kitchen or living room in this style. But still, I really like this, so A tier. I'm gonna be real, probably shouldn't have included this one, but I know I'd get comments about it if I didn't, so here we go. FNAF World is an RPG, as we all know, and as such, the locations include such hits like Grass World, Ice World, Ocean World. Yeah, it's not the most interesting thing out there. Some might say it's the least interesting. However, I am going to be placing it at the top of D tier above FNAF 2 for one simple reason. I don't think it does anything worse than in other games. Like, yeah, it's super generic compared to other RPGs, but that doesn't make it bad necessarily. It has a concept and executes on it adequately, at least in my opinion. Plus, it's not like it's devoid of original ideas. It has the Halloween world or some pixelated places if you want to count those. So yeah, pretty bad, but not the worst. Though if someone wanted to say it was the worst, I wouldn't blame them. Well, we can only go up from here. What's next? Sister Location is probably the game that changed the most after thinking about it. At first I thought it was the best one. I love the sci-fi vibe, I love all the technology, Scott's really good at that, and I just thought it would win the video. But after thinking about it some more, I mean, I still really like it, but it's got some problems. The biggest issue for me is just how similar every area looks. This game really loves its blues and greens. There are also a decent amount of rooms that are essentially just black screens, and that's really boring. I understand why it is the way it is, to sell the underground bunker aesthetic, but it makes it not super interesting to look at for long periods of time. It's the sort of thing where I would change almost nothing about it. It achieves what it wants to do perfectly, but what it wants to do is just pretty good and not amazing. Bottom of A tier, though I could certainly see arguments for it being placed above FNAF 4. They're pretty close in quality. Man, this is really interesting. So far the location I've liked the most comes out of my least favorite FNAF game. Just goes to show that even the worst FNAF games have some good about them. So let's see how the best FNAF game fares. FNAF 6 is a very weird one to judge because you make it. This is a tycoon game, so you run the restaurant, and as such can choose what to put down. This includes everything from wall decorations to even the size of the restaurant. Although, unfortunately, even with max upgrades and every item, it's still not very remarkable. Because it's a tycoon, you need to place items down, and they can't just let you place it anywhere, so they have these rainbow spots to place things on. This makes the location feel very plain and grid-based. Like, literally everything is a straight line, and it's one room. It doesn't feel that special. We also have the office and salvage sections, but they're not super remarkable either. The office section is a room with 2 vents and a computer, and the salvage section is a room with... Actually, there's like nothing here. A desk, I guess? Overall, bottom of C tier, and I'm being generous with that placement. This place is just boring, though because of the nature of the game, that's not really its fault. Like, there really was no way to get around these issues with the type of game that FNAF 6 wanted to be. So it's acceptable, but not really good. Well, surely the next one can't be worse. What game is next anyway? Okay, so I was wrong. Yeah, UCN might just be the worst location in the series. I know that'll be an unpopular take, but let me start with the positives. First off, I like the design of the offices. There's 4 different ones, and I think they all look really good while also managing to cram a ton of references in there. However, my issue starts with literally everything else. This game has a camera system so we can see the rest of the location. The issue is that it's just not that interesting. It's either derivative or almost like a black void. Now, I get why this was done. UCN is a game about choosing your enemies. There's so many different animatronics that they can't have a super detailed environment or it would distract from the gameplay. This leads to basically nothing being there outside of the essentials. Take this camera for instance. We have Pirates Cove and that's really it. Because that's all you need. Another issue I have is how little everything fits together. Like, none of this really looks like a coherent building, which I guess is okay because in universe it's not a coherent building, but still. This gets especially bad with the offices. Sure, the first office fits the vibe of most other places well enough, but when you switch to any other one it becomes really jarring. Bottom of D tier, the lowest location in this video. Again, I don't hold it against this game. With how UCN was designed, it had to be this way, but that still makes it bad. Okay, I know this is a weird game to put on the list considering it's just a compilation of the first 4 FNAF games, but hear me out. There are a few unique locations here. Not many, but there's vent repair, the plush baby room, the room where you get the presents, I guess. Yeah, that's kind of it. This is going to be the shortest segment because of how little there is here. It's going in the middle of C tier, between FNAF 3 and FNAF 6. It's pretty good what we see, but we also see like nothing, so... Ah, here we go. The whole reason I made this video. The Pizzaplex. Right away, I don't care what anyone says, this is top of S tier. Yeah, it's not scary, it's the brightest area in the series, but I don't care, it's gorgeous. This mall just looks so fun. I brought it up as a point against FNAF 2, but I'd want to go here. And that's a good thing this time. See, Security Breach goes for an interesting approach with horror. It keeps the segments where there are horror pretty self-contained, while the main area is intentionally made to not scare you, leading to more whiplash in the few areas where it does try. This is seen no better than in daycare. No, not that daycare. This daycare. Simply turning off the lights makes this place way more ominous and scary. Like, I know this is an unpopular opinion, but this is more tense than pretty much any other FNAF location. Maybe not FNAF 1's, but it's hard to top FNAF 1. So I think this accomplishes its goal perfectly. It can be creepy when it wants to be, and a fun mall at other points. This place is massive too, easily the biggest FNAF location. It's split off into so many different sections that it'd be impossible to name them all. My favorite, just purely from an aesthetic standpoint, would probably be Roxy Raceway. It's just so lively that I can't help but love it. I know a lot of people hate this place, whether it's for not being scary, for being confusing, or for having too many goddamn elevators, but none of that matters to me. This is far and away the best location we've looked at so far, and I refuse to hear any arguments. Damn, back-to-back bangers? Steel wasn't messing around. I guess it makes sense. I mean, it's basically just the Pizzaplex, but again, and dirty. I think what's really impressive about this location is how it feels brand new while reusing basically the same map as last time. Think Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. It may have the same basic structure, but it feels totally different with how it's stylized. With the place obviously being in ruin. Yes, they love me. They love me! But seriously, the way they were able to recontextualize certain locations like the daycare or theater to be completely destroyed is just super cool. That's not even mentioning the main gimmick of the game, where you have to go to a virtual world, essentially meaning there's 2 of every area. I will say this place isn't as aesthetically pleasing as Security Breach, which is obviously by design, it's supposed to be pretty crappy, but that does lower my opinion of it slightly. Not enough to get it out of S tier though. Man, people are gonna be so pissed at me for putting the Steel Wool games this high. Oh, you haven't even seen my worst take yet. Top of A tier, the past 3 games comprise our top 3, I don't care, you can't stop me. I suppose I do have to explain why I placed it up here. Now, the first Help Wanted was pretty good, but we barely saw any of it because most of the game was a compilation of older games. Here though, there's much more to sink our teeth into. Sure, there are still some locations that come from other games, like most of the sister location is carried into this game, but for the most part it's entirely original. Almost like a metaphor for the games they came from, how strange. Anyway, this game just has a lot more original places, and while that means all of them aren't winners, like for example the Glamrock Freddy Repair is literally just a basic room, a lot of them are winners, like the Log Ride, or oddly enough the main hub. Yeah, I just think it's cool. There's a lot of games that go for this arcadey vibe, like Phasar Blaster, or more obviously Bonkabon, and that's really fun. Unfortunately, I can't place it at the top since a lot of the original locations from this game boil down to room or room but dark, but it's still really high up. Okay, we're done with the Steel Wool games. 3 out of 4 of them landed at the top. I guess the increased size really aids them. Now we move on to our last game. Hopefully it ends on a bang. Like, it's not bad, but it's definitely not a bang. This game is kind of an entire town. Like, there's a library, a mill, etc. But the main locations are Oswald's house and Jeff's/Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. They're fine, I suppose. Oswald's house sure is a house, and the restaurant sure is a restaurant. There's not too much to say about them. I do like the contrast between Jeff's Pizza in the present and Freddy Fazbear's Pizza in the past. They have the same layout, so they don't feel super distinct, but the few differences there are pretty cool. Like the arcade machine is being broken in the present. It's nothing crazy, but it adds to the world building, so I gotta give it that. I'm gonna be placing Into the Pit at bottom of B tier. There's nothing that great about it, but I think the subtle world building works well. I kinda brushed over it, but the other locations in town really do help flesh this place out. And that's it, right? Well, yes and no. That's our last entry onto the tier list, but there's still one more place I want to discuss. So I won't be placing this on the tier list since the game isn't out yet, but I did want to quickly revisit this. Now, when I say that this place is generic, I don't really mean that. Like, look at this area. I like how this looks, but a lot of the other places just look like any other old horror game. This is almost like a modern take on the underground facility and sister location, but made to be more realistic isn't the word, I mean look at this, but maybe grounded. I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy who doom posts about current FNAF, trust me, there's enough people doing that, but I guess after so many good Steel Wool locations, I'm kind of underwhelmed by this. Still, very excited to play the game, I hope it's just like the song. My name is David! But to talk about locations in FNAF as a whole, it's honestly the most consistently good part of the games. Like the lowest on the tier list UCN, I like that location still. I'm honestly surprised there's not a single bad one in the bunch. Of course, it's probably just me. I'm sure I'll get comments telling me about how I overrated, I don't know, FNAF 4 or something, but at least from where I stand, the series has done a good job with its setting. So to answer the title question, which FNAF has the best location? It's FNAF AR. I mean, come on, it can literally be anywhere in the world. How does that not get first place?